me call you right back. All right, goodbye. Okay, you're ready. Have fun.
Thanks. All right, in 3, 2. All right, happy Friday, everyone. Meteorologist Tyler Hughes here, the newest member of the Channel 3 First Alert Weather Team. Happy to be with you on this Friday morning. I've got my coffee ready here. I hope you do too. Ready for my first edition of First Alert Weather Extra. All right, let's do it with our headlines this morning. First of all, we're looking at a bright, breezy, seasonable day on tap. It's shaping up to be really nice. Lots of sunshine around, and that will allow temperatures to climb into the 60s later on this afternoon. The weekend is looking dry as well, and in fact, there's a slight warming trend. By tomorrow, we'll be in the mid-60s for high temperatures, and then as we head into the day on Sunday, we could hit the low 70s in some spots with a few clouds on the increase late in the day Sunday. And that's out ahead of our next low pressure system that arrives for Monday. So Monday brings some unsettled conditions, also a return to some of that breezy weather we've seen. All right, Friday, October 17th. Let's take a look at the almanac for the Hartford area. The average low is around 42. So we were just below that this morning. The average high for this time of year is 63. So I think today will be quite seasonable. Yeah, look at the low temperatures this morning. 36 degrees in Hartford, so a bit below average. Some of the lows were in the 40s, especially as you head toward the coastline where the water tends to moderate the temperature a little bit. So 45 was the low this morning in New Haven, 40 in Groton. But we did dip into the 30s. Tolland, Torrington, Salisbury as well, all dipped into the 30s this morning. So it is still a jacket kind of morning. Most of our cities on our map are up into the 40s now, but Salisbury's still hanging on to the upper 30s. And so by this afternoon, once again, lots of sunshine, temperatures climbing into the 50s and 60s, but something to keep in mind is we will still have some of those gusty winds. And so we had winds yesterday gusting anywhere from 20 to 25, even 30 miles per hour in some cases. We think those winds will be a bit more diminished this afternoon. Winds only gusting maybe 15 to 20 miles per hour. But that's still something you'll notice as you head out the door, especially later on today. You may notice that it feels more like the mid-50s than the 60s out there with that wind in place. It's all because we're kind of stuck right now. We have high pressure off to our west over parts of the Ohio River Valley, and we have low pressure offshore right now. And so where you get that pressure gradient that's really tight, that is where we get some of those gusty winds. Luckily, the low pressure begins to move away, high pressure moves in and really solidifies itself in place for the weekend. And so those winds will die down and the weekend is totally dry with lots of sunshine. And so if you have any plans this weekend, I think you should be good to go. And in fact, it's looking like a really nice one. It's once we get into late in the day on Sunday, we begin to see some of those clouds on the increase a little bit once again, and that's ahead of our next area of low pressure that arrives just in time for the morning commute on Monday. And so keep in mind, the morning commute Monday could bring some rain showers associated with it. All right, here are today's high temperatures this afternoon. 62 is our high for the capital city, 63 New Haven. Some spots will remain in the 50s, but I think for most of us it will feel like the 50s when you step outside. So certainly a sweatshirt kind of day, and you'll definitely need the sweatshirt, maybe even the jacket, if you're headed out to the game of the week. Friday Night Lights, Northwest Catholic taking on Rocky Hill tonight. Temperatures will be dipping into the 50s and then eventually the upper 40s. And then low temperatures overnight tonight will be in the 30s pretty much across the board, with the exception, once again, of the immediate shoreline where it tends to be just a little bit warmer. So when we have the clear skies, it's great during the day because we get lots of sunshine, right? But those clear skies also enable us to cool off really, really effectively. And so that's why we get some of those cooler temperatures in place overnight tonight. Now, for that reason, we do have a frost advisory that's in effect for some of our inland counties. And so growing season is ended for the vast majority of us now. We've already had frost, even a freeze in some places earlier on this season. But do keep in mind, if you still have plants outside that are uncovered, or maybe you can bring them inside, I would do so. And if you have plants maybe you can't bring inside, you cover them up if you want them to stay healthy, right? Some of our inland counties have that freeze advisory that will remain in effect overnight tonight. Now, the weekend forecast, again, is looking great. Tomorrow, dry, seasonable. Temperatures will be in the mid-60s inland and along the shoreline as well. And then Sunday, we climb into the low 70s. So aside from the clouds that'll increase Sunday afternoon just a little bit, I do think Sunday is the pick of the weekend. It's just a little bit warmer. But if you have plans either day, you should be good to go. And in fact, it's looking like a really, really nice forecast as well. Hey, if you're doing any leaf peeping out there, keep in mind, the farther north you go, you're past peak at this point, maybe as you head toward peak. We are just beginning to peak in some of the foliage. And even if you take a drive around here, Connecticut, up western Massachusetts as well, the leaves are looking really, really nice. And so I hope you get a chance to get outside and enjoy it. Maybe not as vibrant as they could have been. That's, of course, because of some of the abnormally dry conditions that we've been seeing, even some drought conditions in other parts of New England. But it's still looking very nice. And if you have any time this weekend to get out and enjoy it, I certainly recommend. All right, here's that 7-day forecast. So we climb up into the low 70s on Sunday. But here's the little thing we have to deal with Monday. That cold front rolls through, brings a chance for some rain in the morning, brings the breeze back with that area of low pressure, and it allows temperatures to drop back down into the 60s. So highs Monday will be in the 60s, both inland and along the shoreline, and we remain in the 60s pretty much through the rest of next week. In fact, we have another chance for showers that arrives on our doorstep for the day on Wednesday as well. One thing to keep in mind, though, is if we look past the 7-day period, temperature-wise, let's take a look into the week 2 period, right? The 8 to 14-day period to see what we have in store temperature-wise. And folks, I think it's looking really nice, all things considered. Check this out. Trend toward above average temperatures, at least according to the Climate Prediction Center. So that is today's edition of First Alert Weather Extra. I'm First Alert meteorologist Tyler Hughes. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great weekend, everybody.